Rod Fleming here, and I hope you're all well. I want to do one today, and I'm going back to stuff that I've done before here on this channel. There's some things that I think haven't been properly explained. I've tried, but it's obvious from what I see written on various platforms, shall we say, that the message hasn't got through. So we're going to talk about the T word, okay? Trans. Now, the first thing to understand is that there is only one type of true transsexual, okay? Only one, and they're all homosexual males or lesbian females, and the latter are rather more rare. But you cannot be a male transsexual unless you're homosexual first. And the reason for that is that we now know that a homosexual is actually not just a personality type, it's a physical type of male, and they are affected by anomalies of testosterone delivery in utero, which causes them to tend to be, it's not absolute, but they tend to be smaller, lighter, more neotenous, that is, baby-faced, pretty. They tend to be artistic, they tend to be good at things that are very feminine in nature. They tend to have feminized digit ratios. The list just goes on and on and on, and this has been remarked for well over 100 years. And until Kinsey came along and fucked it all up, everybody just went, that's a homosexual, that's what a homosexual is. It's a particular personality and physical type, and it's caused by a thing called sexual inversion. Now, they didn't specifically know what caused sexual inversion was in the beginning, but by the 1960s we knew. It's all there in the literature, you just have to read it. But it's been suppressed by people who call themselves activists, so that you would believe that these people have you believe in black was white. So there's only one type of transsexual. So what about all the others who claim to be transgender? Amongst males, the vast majority of these non-transsexual transitioners are autogynephiles. They have autogynephilia at some level. Autogynephilia, I've done a lot on that. It's very complex. There are 5 different types. It comes in 3 different sexual orientations. But basically, at root, it is a man's obsession with himself as a woman. It is a kind of autoerotic fantasy in which the man becomes the object of his sexual desire. It tends to be, I know they deny this, but it tends to be exacerbated by excessive porn use. In fact, you could say that in some cases it's a direct result of overuse of porn. And I often tell people who approach me on this, I say, look, don't use that kind of porn, or go into something vanilla. If you have to use porn, okay, fine. Men actually do need that release. It's not like it's weird or anything, we just do need it, Women probably do too, but men absolutely do need that release on a regular basis, and if porn helps you get off, use it. And this No Nut November stuff, what a bunch of utter toss that is. Anyway, the point I want to make here is that, autogynephilia is not to be condemned because, like, oh my God, it's a masturbatory self-imaging process, which it is. It's the behaviour of certain autogynephiles that does need to be questioned. Attempting to take over women's sports, for example, and that's done so much damage. These men have done real damage, and they are men. Transsexuals are transsexuals. They're not women, they're transsexual. They're homosexual. Transvestites are just men in dresses. They remain just as attracted to women as they always were. There's no difference there. They'll say, oh, but if we have the operation, if I have my dick cut off, then I'll be transsexual. Like hell you will. You'll just be a man without a dick. It's really simple stuff, there's nothing difficult here. You'll just be a dickless wonder. That's all you'll be. Nothing, okay, so it might fuel the validation that your delusion requires, but you're still delusional. Homosexual transsexuals feel like girls, they want men. They want big hairy men. And so they do exactly what all other girls do in order to get a nice male partner. They make themselves beautiful. I mean, how is this difficult? How is this complex? How is this how is this even slightly hard to understand? These people, you know, they are defined by their we're all defined by our sexuality. They want men. How do you get a man? You make yourself beautiful. You know, all this sort of like with like gay stuff that happens in America, USica rather, and other parts of the 4% zone, it's bloody nonsense. It was invented in the 1970s. It doesn't exist anywhere else. Everywhere else goes, you're absolutely off your mind. Everybody knows that homosexual males are incredibly feminine and might as well just be girls, for God's sake, you know. And everybody knows that lesbians are incredibly masculine. And they're all, I mean, it's interchangeable here. It's like, you know, they call trans men, lesbians are called trans men. They don't take hormones or anything. But the society accepts, well, you know, you look like a guy, you've got short hair, you're wearing, you know, butchy clothes and all the rest of it. You're obviously a guy. Not a problem. The problem exists in the West. Because these really stupid things that have been done. So, the next thing to understand, so you have to understand this, that most people in the West, it looks like about 80% of male to feminine transitioners are not transsexual. They're transvestites. They're just like any other man, except they wear dresses. They maybe have a boob job. They might actually have their cocks cut off. They might take hormones, but they're still men. They're still men. Even if they learn to actually enjoy sex with men, that is, in which they are penetrated, which is actually very rare in the West. No, these are still men in dresses. You'll never be a transsexual, so give up. A problem that we have, to move on from that, is that this dichotomy was known about for years, I mean decades, and really, in fact, hundreds of years, but nobody had actually classified it and set it out, examine it in a way that was scientifically repeatable, you know, until Ray Blanchard came along. I mean, you can tell looking at them who's what, but he came along and he actually did, you know, the numbers and came up with a statistical model that just basically proved, yeah, that's exactly what I've said, is what it is. But his sample was entirely of individuals who wished to have help to transition, at least with hormone treatment, but basically they all wanted to have genital surgery. Yeah. That means it's a very small sample, because if you know anything about, particularly about trans women, then you'll know that the vast majority don't want surgery. Genital surgery. I mean, they might be up for facial stuff and they might be up for a boob job. You know, yeah, that's fine. There's maybe some silicone in the hips to make them look a little bit more aha. But most of them they're quite happy wearing a penis. They're quite happy with it. You have to remember that a homosexual, one of the characteristics of a homosexual is that they like to be anally penetrated. I will say that again. They like to be anally penetrated. You know, so they're like, why, you know, I already get all the fun that I can have. And I tell you, if you ever have one of these girls, you know, enjoying her climax while you're in her, it's quite spectacular. I mean, you're not going to forget that one in a minute. Trust me. And I've seen a few, maybe even a couple of thousand of those, and every one is spectacular. It really is. I mean, the girl can sometimes pass out. She just collapses, you know, it's so intense. The whole thing is intense. You've got the legs shaking and oh my God, it's everything. They love it. They adore it. Why would they bother getting a huge, great operation? And the other thing is that if you think about it a minute, and it takes a moment's reflection only, you get yourself a pseudo-vagina, okay? Sometimes known as a frankenpoos. How do you know that's what a woman feels when she's got one? You cannot know if it feels the same as what a woman feels with her vagina. In fact, I would argue that it's an impossible thing. All you're doing is it's just purely cosmetic. That's all it is. It's either to satisfy your, if you're AGP, autogynephilic, so that when you look in the mirror you don't see a dick, and satisfies, rather affirms your fantasy of being a woman. And for true transsexuals, I think in the West particularly, it's about they don't think men will go with them if they still have a penis. But I can assure you, the instant the guy finds out there used to be a penis there, he's gone. Yeah, I've talked to enough guys to know what they're like. And it's like, penis past or present, don't want to know. So you might as well not bother your pretty little bottoms about this. Just, be yourself, do what you do, which you do wonderfully, and carry on being amazing and gorgeous and so much fun to be with and all the rest of it. Let's go back to Blanchard. Now, his sample was uniquely of people who wanted to go further, The trouble is that in the societies that I've studied closely, which is essentially Latin America, Southeast Asia, and Southern Europe, with the most being in Latin America, with the most being in Southeast Asia, because I've been living here for a long time. There are an awful lot of people here who you wonder if they actually qualify as either. I mean, they might be a little bit autogynephilic, but basically what they're doing is cosplaying, and it's like they want to play a role. And it's very hard to figure out to what extent this is sexualized. Autogynephilia is entirely sexualized. It's just a sex drive, which is misplaced. Instead of it being focused outside, on people outside the self, it's reflected back and focused on the self, so the self has to put itself in line with the desired object and become, a beautiful woman. Like, they can do it here, you can't really do it in the West so much, can you, girls? Although I know a few. I don't think that the cosplayers actually fit into Blanchard's typology at all. And I think it's a mistake to try to conflate them in. I think you need to look at these as being quite separate, and I think that's okay. I mean, I don't care what anybody does, it's fine. I'm really, really open about it. How you wish to appear, how you wish to present, no, I'm not getting antsy about that in the way that some wankies do. I don't care. I never did care. If you look like a bloke in a dress, well, if you look like a bloke in a dress, a typical brick, me woman now, it's like, no, I don't think so, and I might even laugh at you. But I wouldn't, that would be a natural reaction to the ridiculousness of the proposition. It wouldn't be me trying to be mean to you. I mean, there's a difference. Now, there is a problem in the West, and not so much here, but certainly in the West, and that is because of a thing called identity politics, which I'll do in another video. And identity politics is a curse. It's a terrible, terrible thing, and it needs to be got rid of. But what it has caused to happen is that all the people who are maybe non-standard in some way in their preferences, their behaviours, their mode of dress, get lumped into this fictional thing of LGBTQXYZs, OP, Omega, what the fuck, Rice Krispies, I don't know. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And within this sort of trans thing, you've got something that's actually even more pernicious, because the conventional Western wisdom amongst people who are not scientists, but are some sort of political philosophers, or even just airheads, is that there is this thing called trans, you are trans. And then because you're trans, you could be homosexual trans, heterosexual trans, you could be bisexual trans, you could be this trans, that trans, non-trans, airy-fairy trans, swimming in the sea trans, all the rest of it, and they're all forms of trans. That is simply not true. No, there are only homosexuals amongst males. There are only homosexuals, autogynephilic transvestites, and cosplayers. And that's it. There's no way that this idea of an umbrella, transness, could exist. Consider it yourself. Think about it a minute. You know yourself? You know yourself, don't you? You know who you are, you know what you are. These people are suggesting that you can somehow know that you're trans without actually having any expression of that. Oh, you know, you're trans. Like, what makes you think that? Do you like men? Are you like, oh, God, I love men, I want a man. I want a man so much. Okay, well, get on a dress. Oh, I just want to see myself as beautiful. I just need to look in the mirror and see a beautiful woman, you know? Is that not you? Do you like the cosplay? Do you like to enjoy playing games? You know, that's sort of a thing. I mean, I don't have a problem. It's theatre. It's fine. I love theatre. But there's no way that you can say that there is some level of consciousness that is actually trans, that somehow precedes all this stuff. That is absolute, complete and utter garbage. There's no such thing as trans. There are transsexuals, transvestites and cosplayers amongst males. And you know, it's very similar amongst females, but in particularly cosplayers. Cosplayers are a major element amongst females, and unfortunately in the current climate they've been going along to clinics and getting their boobs cut off and then suddenly deciding, no, I don't really like that rule so much. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, nobody told me. Well, actually we did tell you. We told you not to be so bloody stupid and you did it anyway. Yes dear, we did. And by the way, just for the record, I'm against all forms of genital surgery. Stick with what you were bloody well born with and stop this ridiculous mucking about. However, to get back to the point here, we do have to deal with this issue because in the West, this idea that there is a trans, you know, you can tell a fucking 3-year-old kid he's trans. How would you bloody well know? Is he actually showing sex atypical behaviour? And what is it? He, you know, occasionally likes to wear a dress. So what? So bloody what? Kids do that kind of thing all the time. Put on mum's shoes and a dress. Even stick on some makeup just for playing, because they're doing a cosplay thing. And through that cosplay, it's, oh, I can find out what I am and what I'm not. You know, and I can find I'm not a girl. You know? But because these bloody stupid transactivist types say, oh, they don't recognise the cosplay element of all this. They go, oh, that must be trans. And that will happen even if the person has absolutely no interest in men whatsoever, as if we're talking about boys, as he grows up. I mean, this whole thing is designed to screw people up. You know, if you want to cosplay a woman, go and cosplay a woman. Nobody bloody cares. There's an entire tradition of it in British theatre. I mean, it's the same in US theatre. I mean, what about Mrs. Doubtfire? So, you mustn't do that. You just let people be themselves. You know, it's just as bad to say to a child, well, you absolutely must not wear a dress, as to say to that child, oh, you're obviously trans, we'd better get you a dress. I mean, just leave them bloody alone and they will find their own way. Don't make a big deal out of it. If you make a big deal out of it, the simple fact is you're going to make it worse, whatever it is. Because that's how it works with kids. If they think that you are like, oh, I want to wear a dress, and gosh, they're really, you know, making a big fuss about that. Why are they doing that? What's the big fuss about? They'll do it more. Now you ask any child psychologist, they'll tell you, do not make a fuss. Something like that, just go, oh yeah, really? Amused toleration, that's what you want. And as I was saying, I sort of got interrupted by the dickhead outside. You talk any of the beautiful trans women here, any of the beautiful transsexuals here, true transsexuals, you know, and you can almost tell because they're the small cute ones. Ask her to show you some pictures of her as a child, and she probably will because she'll have some there, and it'll be like, you know, she'll look extremely pretty, but it's an extremely pretty boy. She'll be wearing maybe a school uniform, boy clothes. So they're not allowed to wear the girl stuff until they leave school. The school says, no, you have to wear a boy uniform. That's what happens here. I mean, okay, fair enough. Maybe when they get home they'll swap out their school shorts and shirt for a dress borrowed from their sister or something like that. But the society doesn't make, it doesn't sort of encourage any, you're a boy, therefore you will dress like a boy and behave like a boy while you're attending school. And in my opinion, that's by far the best way. I mean, I don't agree with some of the things that happen here where, sex atypical children are maybe beaten or in some ways harmed, especially by fathers, who can be very difficult here. And oh dear, stepfathers. Ooh, I don't agree with any of that. But by the same token, it's like, well, why would it hurt you to wear a pair of shorts and a shirt? I mean, goodness sake, everybody else is doing it. And Sam, the lovely Sam, who an adorable woman, used to say that she would, being a boy, like 6 or 7 years old, she would, when they separate the class, like the girls on this side and the boys on this side, she would just run in with the girls. And the teacher would go, whoa, Villasencio, what are you doing over there? Well, I'm a girl. But the fact is that the school just went, no, you're not, you're going to go stand there with the boys. And I think that that's all right, as long as it's gentle, as long as everybody's having a laugh about it and saying, look, no, it's okay, you can be that later, but right now we want you to go, you need to stand with the boys. Okay. Unfortunately, the whole situation in the West has been completely fucked up by transactivists who are mainly autogynephilic. You have to remember, autogynephilia actually sets on at puberty, or just before. So somebody who's 13 could easily be autogynephilic and wish to show that. The West has got completely fucked up because transactivists turned this into a political issue, which it shouldn't be. It's a personal issue. It's just, how you are, what you want to be. You want a man, you look like a woman, obviously. I mean, how fucking brainless do you have to be to imagine that like goes with like, two guys together? I mean, what the fuck is that? Obviously, it's bullshit. It's obvious bullshit. Guys go with girls and girls go with guys. Simple. Anyway, catch up with that later. I will be doing less of these because I've really covered a hell of a lot. If you go through my back catalogue, and I'll just say at this point, if you are struggling with autogynephilia or you have somebody in your family who you think has it, contact me because I do counselling. I can at least identify what your problem is. Autogynephilia can be managed. There's no doubt about that. So when they say, oh you're going to kill yourself, oh the suicide rate, it's all complete bloody bunkum. It's lies. Politically inspired lies. Autogynephilia can be managed. Otherwise, if that were not the case, how do you explain all the autogynephilic guys who existed in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s? What, you think they suddenly arrived? Try to be sensible. No, they were just concealing themselves. That's all. So they were managing their autogynephilia. So you have to ask what the problem is. And if you ask me, the problem is that we live in a culture where people are allowed to just indulge any kind of bloody nonsense and get away with it. And I think that's going to wreck the West. I think the West is going to fail. And it's going to fail soon. And it's because of that. Because of that attitude. Anyway, bye-bye.